The navigation panel sparked violently as smoke filled the cockpit of the scout vessel. Kimmin gripped the manual controls, his 4 arms working frantically to stabilize the plummeting craft. As the sole Kthrax explorer aboard, he had little hope of preventing what was coming. Emergency landing protocols engaged, the ship's AI announced with mechanical calm. Warning, destination classified as Class 12 Deathworld. Kimmin's compound eyes widened in horror. Class 12. That was practically a death sentence. His exoskeleton trembled as the ship broke through the atmosphere, friction heating the hull to dangerous levels. The impact came suddenly. Metal tore through trees as the scout ship carved a path through the dense forest before coming to rest in a small clearing. Emergency systems hissed and sputtered before failing completely. Kimmin regained consciousness slowly, his sensory appendages registering alarming data. The atmospheric composition was flooded with corrosive oxygen. The gravity pulled at his body with crushing force. Every system in his biology screamed warnings. He dragged himself to the emergency supplies, activating his temporary atmospheric converter. It would give him 3 days at most. The emergency beacon was damaged, its range severely limited. 3 days, he chittered to himself in his native tongue. 3 days on a death world. Forcing his limbs to move against the crushing gravity, Kimmin assessed the damage to his ship. The main engine was beyond repair. The communication array was twisted beyond recognition. His only hope lay in the emergency beacon, but even that had been damaged in the crash. Through the viewport, Kimmin observed the alien landscape. Tall green organisms, plants, according to the ship's database, surrounded the crash site. The sky above was a brilliant blue, a color that indicated deadly levels of oxygen to any Kthrax. His homeworld's purple atmosphere contained just enough oxygen to sustain life without burning through respiratory membranes. I need to repair the beacon, Kimmin decided, gathering tools from the emergency kit. Each movement was agony under Earth's gravity. His homeworld, Thraxis Prime, had only 40% of Earth's gravitational pull. Here, his exoskeleton creaked under its own weight. Moving outside the ship required a portable breathing apparatus. Kimmin secured the device over his respiratory spiracles and activated the filter. The readout immediately flashed warnings. The filter would only last 12 hours before becoming saturated. The moment Kimmin stepped outside the ship, he felt the heat. His homeworld was significantly cooler, and his species had evolved for temperature regulation in cold environments. Earth's temperate forest felt like a furnace to his sensitive thermal receptors. "This planet is trying to kill me in every possible way," Kimmin muttered as he examined the external damage to the beacon. The primary antenna had snapped, and the power coupling was fused. Repairs would take days, not hours. A strange sound caught Kimmin's attention. He froze, listening. His auditory membranes detected movement through the undergrowth. Something large was approaching. Kimmin retreated to the ship, his movements painfully slow in the heavy gravity. From the safety of the cockpit, Kimmin watched as a large quadruped emerged from the trees. The creature had brown fur and massive branching protrusions from its head. It regarded the ship with casual interest before continuing on its way. Native fauna, Kimmin noted in his datapad. Non-aggressive, apparently uninterested in the ship. The Kthrax explorer spent the remainder of the day attempting to repair the beacon. By nightfall, Earth's rotation took the crash site out of direct sunlight, providing blessed relief from the heat. However, the darkness brought new challenges. Kimmin's species possessed excellent night vision, but Earth's moon cast eerie shadows through the trees that made him jumpy. Strange sounds echoed through the forest, howls and calls unlike anything on his homeworld. Need to conserve energy, Kimmin reminded himself, returning to the ship to rest. His body was exhausted from fighting the gravity. Even breathing required more effort here. The night cycle brought a new threat. Temperature drop. While still warmer than Thraxis Prime, the sudden change stressed Kimmin's already overtaxed system. He activated the ship's emergency heating system. which sputtered and barely functioned with the damaged power cells. Morning brought no relief. Kimmon's breathing apparatus had depleted faster than expected, forcing him to return to the ship's limited life support system. The atmospheric converter was struggling, and the air inside the ship was gradually becoming more Earth-like and more toxic to the Kithrax. Must complete repairs today, Kimmon recorded in his log. Survival chances decreasing by 22% per day cycle. Working with desperate efficiency, Kimmon cannibalized parts from non-essential ship systems to repair the beacon. His upper arms held tools while his lower arms steadied components. Despite the advantages of extra limbs, the work was excruciatingly slow due to the gravity. By midday, Kimmon had managed to restore partial function to the beacon. It wouldn't reach the Kithrax fleet, but it might contact any ships passing through the solar system. It was a slim hope, but hope nonetheless. As Kimmon was testing the beacon, the ship's sensors detected multiple moving objects approaching the crash site. The readout classified them as bipedal organisms, approximately 1.7 meters tall. Natives, Kimmon realized with a mixture of fear and curiosity. The ship's database contained minimal information about Earth, mainly warning about its deadly conditions rather than detailing its inhabitants. Kimmon peered through the viewport and saw them. Humans. 5 of them, moving with casual ease through conditions that were slowly killing him. They wore artificial coverings and carried devices in their hands, pointing them at the ship. Their respiratory systems directly processed the oxygen-rich atmosphere that would eventually burn through Kimmon's breathing filters. Their bodies moved effortlessly under gravity that crushed Kimmon's exoskeleton. They were speaking to each other, their sounds incomprehensible to Kimmon's translator. Incredible, Kimmon whispered, recording their movements. They evolved in these conditions. What would be considered torture for a Kithrax is normal for them. The humans approached cautiously, examining the exterior of the ship. Kimmon remained hidden, unsure of their intentions. Were they hostile? Curious? Intelligent enough for communication? As one human moved toward the entry hatch, Kimmon made a decision. First contact was inevitable. Better to control the circumstances than be discovered cowering. Activating his last functional breathing apparatus and steeling himself against the gravity, Kimmon moved to the hatch. His translator might not understand their language yet, but universal concepts like non-aggression could be communicated through body language. With trembling limbs, Kimmon opened the hatch to face the natives of this death world called Earth. The 5 humans jumped back as the spacecraft door opened with a hiss of escaping air. Kimmon stood in the doorway, his 4 arms held out in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. The humans stared, their faces displaying emotions Kimmon couldn't interpret. It's alive," one of the humans said, a female with short black hair. She held a device pointed at Kimmon, which he recognized as a primitive image capture tool. The tallest human, a male with glasses, slowly stepped forward. "Hello," he said, raising one hand cautiously. "We mean no harm." Kimmon's translator struggled with the unfamiliar language, capturing only fragments of meaning. He activated his voice synthesizer, which produced a series of clicks and whistles that the translator converted to approximate the human language. Help, damaged, ship. Kimmon managed to communicate, each word causing his translator to strain. The humans exchanged glances. The female with the image device stepped forward, joining the tall male. "I am Minji," she said, pointing to herself. "Doctor." She gestured to the others. "We are scientists. We can help." Kimmon's translator processed her simple words better than the complex sentences from before. He nodded, mimicking the human gesture he had observed. "Kimmon," he replied, pointing to himself with his upper right arm. "Kithrax, explorer." A younger male approached, fascination overwhelming his initial fear. "From space. Another planet." Kimmon nodded again, then staggered. Earth's gravity was taking its toll, and his breathing apparatus was struggling to filter the oxygen-rich air. The warning light on his chest panel began to blink red. "Need, Less oxygen. Kimmin gasped as his respiratory system began to burn. Gravity hurts. Minji recognized the distress immediately. He can't breathe our air, she told the others urgently. And the gravity is too strong for him. We need to get him somewhere we can control the environment. The tall scientist, who introduced himself as Shunho, spoke into a communication device. Base, this is Shunho. We've made contact with a non-terrestrial life form. It's in distress. Prepare the isolation lab for a visitor who needs reduced oxygen and possibly gravity assistance. Kimmin's vision began to blur. His exoskeleton creaked painfully under Earth's relentless pull. He felt himself falling, unable to support his own weight anymore. The humans caught him, their strength surprising. What would have taken 4 Cathrax to lift on his homeworld, 3 humans managed with relative ease. They carefully carried him to their ground vehicle, a rugged transport designed for forest terrain. Stay with us, Minji said, checking the blinking light on Kimmin's breathing apparatus. We're taking you somewhere safe. The journey through the forest was a blur of pain and fear for Kimmin. The vehicle bounced over uneven ground, each jolt sending waves of agony through his stressed exoskeleton. Yet he noted how effortlessly the humans handled the conditions, their bodies seemingly impervious to the forces that were killing him. They arrived at a complex of low buildings nestled in a clearing. Several more humans emerged, dressed in protective coverings. They helped transfer Kimmin to a wheeled bed and rushed him inside. The isolation laboratory was a sterile white room with various machines Kimmin didn't recognize. The humans worked quickly, sealing the room and adjusting environmental controls. We're reducing oxygen levels, Junho explained as Kimmin's translator slowly improved its interpretation. And we can create a partial anti-gravity field in this room. It's designed for testing materials in various conditions, but it should help you. Gradually, Kimmin felt the crushing weight ease. The burning in his respiratory system subsided as the oxygen levels dropped. He still felt heavy and his breathing was labored, but the immediate danger had passed. Better, he managed to say. Thank you. Minji remained in the room, wearing a breathing mask to compensate for the reduced oxygen. Can you tell us what happened to your ship? How you came to Earth? Kimmin's translator was adapting to their language patterns, making communication easier. Navigation malfunction, course deviation, emergency landing. He gestured with his upper arms in a motion that indicated falling. Not meant to find Earth. Accident. Are there others looking for you? Chunho asked from behind a glass partition. Kimmin activated his portable data device, displaying a holographic star chart. Thrax ships here. He pointed to a cluster of stars. Emergency beacon damage. Signal weak. May not detect. The humans stared in wonder at the holographic display, which showed star systems far beyond their current astronomical knowledge. You're very far from home, Minji observed softly. Kimmin nodded, the human gesture becoming more natural. Earth classified as Class 12 Deathworld in Kithrak's database. Too dangerous for exploration. Oxygen toxic. Gravity crushing. Temperature extreme. The humans exchanged surprised looks. Deathworld. Junho repeated. Our home is considered too dangerous for your kind. For most spacefaring species, Kimmin explained, his translator functioning better now. Humans evolved in conditions that would kill most intelligent life in known galaxy. Your strength, endurance, respiratory efficiency, remarkable to us. Minji leaned forward, fascinated. So what's normal for us is extreme for you. Yes, humans are. Kimmin searched for the right word. Survival machines by galactic standards. Over the next few hours, as Kimmin's condition stabilized, the scientific team established better communication protocols. They connected his translator to their computer systems, rapidly building a more comprehensive language database. We need to understand your biological needs better, Minji explained. What's the atmospheric composition of your homeworld? What nutrients do you require? Kimmin shared his ship's biological database, which contained detailed information about Kithrak's physiology. The humans were quick learners, adjusting the room's conditions to better match his homeworld. As night fell, most of the scientific team departed, leaving Minji to monitor Kimin's condition. She sat near the glass partition, asking questions about his world, his species, his life among the stars. There are 13 spacefaring species in known galaxy, Kimin told her. Kthrax are explorers and scientists. Others are traders, warriors, artists. And none of them could live on Earth? Minji asked. None comfortably. Some could survive briefly with protection. Humans could visit all known worlds with minimal adaptation. Kimin's compound eyes studied her with scientific curiosity. You do not realize how exceptional you are. Minji smiled. A facial expression Kimin was beginning to understand indicated positive emotions. Tomorrow will help you repair your beacon, she promised. But for now, you should rest. As Minji dimmed the lights and left him to recover, Kimin recorded observations in his personal log. First contact with native species successful. Humans display unprecedented physical capabilities and adaptability. Most surprisingly, they show compassion to a completely alien life form. Perhaps there is more to these Deathworld dwellers than mere biological resilience. The days that followed brought remarkable progress in both Kimin's recovery and the cultural exchange between the isolated Kthrax explorer and the human scientific team. The research facility adapted one section entirely for Kimin's needs, creating what the humans jokingly called the anti-Earth room. We've reduced oxygen levels to 12%, Minji explained as she adjusted settings on the environmental control panel. And the gravity field is now at 0.4 of Earth normal. Is that more comfortable? Kimin moved his 4 limbs experimentally. The relief was immediate and profound. Much better. On my world, I could leap 3 times my height. Here, until now, I could barely stand. Junho entered wearing an oxygen mask, carrying parts salvaged from Kimin's crashed ship. We've retrieved the emergency beacon and communication array. Some components are damaged beyond repair, but our engineers think we can substitute Earth materials. Kimin examined the equipment with his compound eyes, which could perceive details invisible to human vision. Impressive adaptation. Your species has remarkable problem-solving abilities. While the engineers worked on the beacon, Kimin and the scientific team established a knowledge exchange protocol. The humans provided a computer terminal adapted to Kimin's 4-armed physiology, allowing him to access their scientific databases while sharing information about the wider galaxy. Your physics understanding is accurate but incomplete, Kimin noted as he reviewed their scientific literature. The Kthrax discovered 15 fundamental particles beyond what you've identified. And your biology is fascinating, Minji said, studying the medical scans they'd taken of Kimin. Your respiratory system uses copper instead of iron to bind oxygen, and your exoskeleton contains minerals we've never seen before. During one evening session, as Junho brought food specially prepared to match Kimin's metabolic needs, the conversation turned to culture. Do your people have music? Junho asked, adjusting his oxygen mask. Kimin activated his personal device, which projected a holographic display. Complex patterns of light and vibration filled the room, accompanied by sounds outside human hearing range. This is Kthrax Symphony, Kimin explained. We perceive sound through vibration receptors throughout our exoskeleton, not just through auditory organs like you. Music for us is felt through the entire body. In exchange, Minji played recordings of human music, classical orchestras, traditional Korean songs, and modern compositions. Kimin's reaction was unexpected. The rhythmic patterns match mathematical sequences we use in advanced physics calculations, he observed. Your species intuitively creates structures that took Kthrax mathematicians centuries to discover. On the 7th day, as Kimin's strength improved in the adapted environment, he requested something unexpected. I wish to try Earth food, he said during the morning check-in. Our biological scans show some compatibility with your plant materials. The team prepared a careful selection of fruits and vegetables, tested for potential toxicity to Thrax biology. Kimmin examined an apple with scientific curiosity before taking a small bite with his mandibles. "Sweet," he declared, his translator struggling to convey the sensation. "Different from all Thrax food. On our world, plant life is less energy-dense due to the weaker sunlight. That's why Earth is so green," Junho explained. "Our plants capture energy from our sun very efficiently." "Efficiency is a good word for Earth life," Kimmin agreed. "Everything here maximizes energy usage, from microscopic bacteria to humans themselves." By the 10th day, the repaired emergency beacon was ready for testing. The engineering team had ingeniously combined Thrax technology with Earth components to amplify the signal strength. "The signal should now reach 20 light-years," the lead engineer explained. "If your people are searching in this sector, they should detect it." Kimmin activated the beacon, and the humans watched as alien characters scrolled across the display. Message sent. Now we wait. That evening, as Minji conducted her regular check of Kimmin's adaptation progress, she found him studying Earth's night sky through the facility's telescope. "Looking for home?" she asked quietly. "Thrax homeworld not visible from Earth," Kimmin replied. "Too distant, but seeing stars from new angle is valuable scientific data." Minji sat beside him, careful to maintain her oxygen mask. "What will happen when your people find you? Will they come here in force?" Kimmin turned his compound eyes toward her. "Thrax are not conquerors. We are explorers, scientists. First contact protocols are clear: observation, communication, mutual respect. But you said Earth is classified as a death world. Won't that affect how your people view us?" Kimmin's upper limbs made a gesture that his translator interpreted as thoughtful consideration. "Classification may change. Humans have shown intelligence, compassion, and remarkable resilience. My people will be curious, not threatened." During the second week, government officials arrived at the facility. Kimmin observed from his adapted room as they spoke urgently with Junho and Minji. Their conversation was tense, with frequent gestures toward Kimmin's room. When Minji finally entered, she looked troubled. "The government wants to move you to a more secure facility. They're concerned about global panic if news of your presence spreads." "Understandable," Kimmin replied. "First contact always causes cultural shock. Thrax experienced similar when we first met the Troll species." "Will you cooperate with the transfer?" Minji asked. "I trust you and Juno," Kimmin said simply. "You saved my life." The next morning, as preparations for the transfer began, the facility's instruments detected an unexpected signal. It came not from Earth, but from orbit. "Something has entered Earth's solar system," Junho announced, studying the readings. "And it's responding to your beacon." Kimmin examined the signal pattern, his posture suddenly rigid with alarm. "That is not Thrax response code," he said urgently. "Different signature entirely." "Another alien species?" Minji asked, her eyes widening. "Yes, Mach's signature." Kimmin's translator struggled to convey the gravity in his voice. "Mach are opportunistic. They monitor emergency channels of other species, looking for advantage." "Are they dangerous?" Junho asked. Kimmin's forearms moved in an agitated pattern. "To Thrax, sometimes competitors. To newly discovered worlds like Earth, potentially very dangerous. They seek resources, technology, biological specimens." The humans exchanged worried glances as Kimmin continued. "Signal indicates small scout vessel, like mine, probably detected my emergency beacon, came to investigate." Kimmin's compound eyes fixed on Minji. "We must prepare quickly. Mach adapt better to high oxygen environments than Thrax. They will find us." As alarms spread through the facility, Kimmin accessed his personal database. "I will share Mach biological data. Knowledge is first defense." Minji nodded grimly. "We saved you from Earth's environment. Now you'll help us deal with visitors who might not be as friendly as you. Correct, Kimin said, his translator conveying determination. Survival requires adaptation and cooperation. Humans taught me this lesson. Now we must apply it together. The mock vessel landed under cover of darkness, touching down just 3 kilometers from the research facility. Unlike Kimin's accidental crash, this was a deliberate, controlled landing. The ship's stealth systems activated, rendering it nearly invisible to Earth's primitive detection technology. Inside the research facility, alarms blared as satellite feeds picked up the brief thermal signature of the landing. "They're here," Junho announced, rushing into Kimin's chamber with Minji close behind. "Our military units are still 8 hours away." Kimin had been preparing for this moment. He'd spent the past 12 hours sharing everything he knew about the mock with the humans. "We must evacuate immediately," he said, his translator conveying urgency. "Mock have superior tracking technology. They will find this facility soon." "The transport is ready," Minji said, helping Kimin gather his portable life support equipment. "We've loaded your repaired beacon and essential supplies." Kimin moved awkwardly outside his adapted chamber, the crushing gravity immediately affecting his movement. Junho offered support, the human strength easily compensating for Kimin's weakness. 6 mock hunters against 3 humans, and 1 weakened Kithrax, Kimin calculated as they hurried toward the rear exit. Not favorable odds. 5 humans, corrected a voice from the doorway. 2 additional scientists, Hyunwoo and Daesum, stood ready with backpacks and determined expressions. "We're coming too." The group moved quickly through the forested terrain, their vehicle lights extinguished to avoid detection. Kimin sat hunched in the back, his breathing labored despite the portable atmosphere converter strapped to his chest. "Where are we going?" Daesum asked, checking the satellite phone for updates. "Mountain caves, 15 kilometers north," Junho replied, carefully navigating the rough path. Natural rock formations might block their tracking technology, according to Kimin. The Kithrax explorer studied his portable scanner. "Mock vessel has deployed search drones. Aerial coverage pattern. They seek technology signatures and non-Earth biological readings." "Will they detect you?" Minji asked. "Yes. My biology is distinct from Earth patterns, but caves might mask readings temporarily." The vehicle couldn't go all the way to the caves. The final 3 kilometers required traveling on foot through increasingly steep terrain. For the humans, it was a challenging hike. For Kimin, it was excruciating. "Cannot maintain pace," he gasped, his exoskeleton creaking under Earth's gravity. Without hesitation, Hyunwoo lifted the alien onto his back. "I've carried heavier backpacks," he said with a grim smile. Minji checked her watch. "Dawn in 2 hours. We need to reach the caves before daylight exposes us." They reached the cave entrance as the first hint of light appeared on the horizon. The natural limestone formation extended deep into the mountainside, with numerous branches and chambers offering potential hiding places. Mock thermal vision less effective in cave environments, Kimin explained as they made their way deeper into the darkness. Rock absorbs and disperses heat signatures. Junho activated a small light, careful to keep the beam pointed downward. "There's an underground stream about half a kilometer in. The running water might further mask our presence." They established a temporary camp near the underground stream. Daesum, who had training in geology, identified a small chamber with a narrow entrance but spacious interior. "Defensible position," she noted. "Only one way in, and the limestone walls are thick enough to block most scanning technology." Kimin set up his emergency beacon, reconfiguring it to passive mode. "Will only receive, not transmit. Can monitor mock communications this way." As the others prepared the camp, Minji helped Kimin adjust his portable atmosphere converter. "How long will this last?" she asked quietly. "Perhaps 3 days at current settings," Kimin replied. "Less if I must exert myself." Hours passed in tense waiting. Kimin's modified beacon occasionally picked up fragments of mock communications, clicks and hisses that his translator converted to basic concepts. They found the research facility, Kimmin reported grimly, now expanding search perimeter, using biological scanners calibrated to detect Thrax physiology. Hyunwoo, who had taken position near the cave entrance, suddenly tensed. "Movement," he whispered. "Something's coming." The group froze, extinguishing their light. In the absolute darkness, they could hear careful footsteps approaching their hiding place. A beam of light swept the main tunnel outside their chamber. Junho pulled Minji behind a rock formation, while Daesum and Hyunwoo pressed themselves against the wall near the entrance. Kimmin, his dark exoskeleton blending with the shadows, remained perfectly still. The light beam paused, then a voice called out, in Korean. "Hello? Is anyone there? We saw the vehicle tracks." Hyunwoo exhaled sharply. "Locals," he whispered, "not Mok." Junho made a quick decision. "We can't let them wander around and get captured." He stepped forward cautiously. "We're here. Who are you?" 3 figures entered the light beam. 2 men and a woman, dressed in hiking gear. Their eyes widened at the sight of the scientific team, then grew even larger when they noticed Kimmin. What is that?" One man stammered, pointing at the alien. "His name is Kimmin," Minji said calmly, "and we're all in danger. There are other, less friendly visitors from space hunting us." After a brief, shocked silence, the hikers introduced themselves as Jinwoo, Taeyong, and Yeonbi, local guides who had spotted the unusual vehicle tracks and become concerned. "We know these mountains better than anyone," Jinwoo said once he'd recovered from the shock of meeting an extraterrestrial. "Every cave, every path. The alien hunters, they are really coming here?" Yeonbi asked, still stealing glances at Kimmin. Kimmin's translator processed her words. "Already here. 6 Mok hunters. Well armed. Tracking my biological signature." Taeyong, who had been silently processing the situation, suddenly spoke. "The old mining tunnels. They connect to these caves, but aren't on any public maps. We could use them to move without being detected." "How far do they extend?" Shino asked. "All through the mountain. Some parts are flooded, but we can avoid those sections." While they discussed escape routes, Kimmin's beacon emitted a series of urgent beeps. "Mok communications increasing," he reported. "They've detected something near our location." As if confirming his words, a distant sound echoed through the cave system. Something heavy moving across rock, accompanied by an electronic humming. "Tracking drone," Kimmin whispered. "Advanced scout for hunters." Jinwoo motioned quickly. "This way. We need to reach the mining tunnels before it finds us." The group moved as silently as possible, with Hyunwoo once again carrying Kimmin to increase their speed. The Thrax explorer's breathing became increasingly labored, the atmospheric converter struggling to maintain proper composition. They had just reached a narrow passage when a metallic sphere the size of a basketball floated into view behind them. It paused, sensors whirring, then emitted a high-pitched signal. "It's alerting the hunters," Kimmin gasped. Taeyong grabbed a rock and hurled it with surprising accuracy, striking the drone directly. The machine sparked and spun erratically, but remained operational. "Run," Shunro urged, helping Daesum through the narrow passage. As they fled deeper into the cave system, Yeonbi pointed to a side tunnel barely visible in the darkness. "Old ventilation shaft, too small for adults, but the drone might follow it." Jinwoo nodded in understanding. He quickly removed his jacket and threw it down the shaft, then rejoined the others as they continued toward the mining tunnels. "Distraction," he explained, "might buy us some time." They reached the junction with the mining tunnels just as echoing footsteps announced the arrival of their pursuers. Taeyong led them into a low, narrow passage reinforced with ancient timbers. "These tunnels were abandoned 50 years ago," he whispered. "We need to move carefully. Some sections might be unstable." Kimmin's scanner continued to monitor Mok communications, hunters splitting up, 3 following our trail, 3 circling around mountain to cut off potential exits. Minji checked Kimin's atmosphere converter, noting with concern that the indicator light had changed from green to yellow. We need to find somewhere to rest and recharge your equipment. Jinwoo pointed ahead. Old Foreman's office, about half a kilometer from here, might still have some supplies. As they moved through the dark, cramped tunnels, Kimin observed the humans with scientific fascination despite their dire situation. Even the civilian guides showed remarkable stamina and adaptation to these hostile conditions, moving confidently through absolute darkness, breathing the dusty air, navigating treacherous terrain. Your kind evolved for this, he whispered to Minji. Caves were your ancestors' shelters. What is alien and terrifying to me is deeply familiar to your species on an instinctual level. Minji squeezed his upper arm gently. We'll use every evolutionary advantage we have. The Mach may have technology, but we have home field advantage. And knowledge, Kimin added, his compound eyes reflecting the dim light. Never underestimate knowledge as weapon. The old foreman's office became their temporary command center. Taeyong and Jinwoo moved rusty metal cabinets to block the single entrance, while Hyunwoo helped Kimin connect his atmosphere converter to a portable battery pack they'd brought from the research facility. Energy levels stabilizing, Kimin reported, his breathing less labored. Thank you. Junho spread a hand-drawn map of the tunnel system across a dusty desk. Taeyong says there are 4 possible exits from this mine. The Mach hunters are watching the main entrance, but they might not know about the others. Minji checked the satellite phone. Still no signal underground. Military response team has no way to locate us. As the group discussed their options, Kimin's beacon suddenly emitted a series of distinctive tones. His compound eyes widened as he adjusted the controls. New signal detected, he announced. Thrax communication code. Everyone fell silent as Kimin listened to the transmission. Rescue vessel has entered Earth orbit, he translated. Detected my modified beacon's earlier transmission. Searching for precise location. Can you respond? Shono asked. Not without alerting Mach hunters, Kimin replied. But Thrax sensors are more advanced. They will detect Mach vessels soon. Imbi, who had been keeping watch at a crack in the barricaded door, suddenly tensed. Something's moving in the tunnel. The group extinguished their lights. In the darkness, they could hear careful footsteps approaching, accompanied by a strange clicking sound. Mach hunter, Kimin whispered, likely using echolocation device to map tunnels. Jinwoo pointed to a narrow shaft in the corner of the office. Old air vent. Leads to upper level. One by one, they squeezed through the tight opening, with Hyunwoo going last, pulling the vent cover back into place behind him. They crawled through the dusty passage as sounds of the hunters breaking into the office echoed below. The upper level of the mine was in worse condition, with collapsed sections and rotting support beams. They moved carefully, aware that any noise might travel through the mountain. Secondary exit is 200 meters ahead, Taeyong whispered, leading them around a partially collapsed tunnel. Emerges on north face of mountain. As they neared the exit, Kimin's scanner picked up another signal. Thrax vessel has detected Mach ship, he reported, demanding explanation for unauthorized presence in restricted zone. Will there be a fight? Desum asked nervously. Thrax not warriors by nature, Kimin explained, but rescue vessels carry defensive capabilities. Mach prefer not to engage superior technology. They reached the secondary exit, a narrow opening partially concealed by vegetation. Jinwoo checked carefully before signaling the others to follow. The exit opened onto a steep, rocky slope overlooking a forested valley. The morning sun momentarily blinded them after hours in darkness. We need to reach higher ground, Junho decided. If the Thrax ship is searching, they'll need to see us. Climbing the rocky slope was exhausting for the humans and nearly impossible for Kimin. His exoskeleton, designed for the lower gravity of his homeworld, creaked painfully with each movement. Despite the atmospheric converter, the oxygen-rich air burned his respiratory system. "Cannot continue," he gasped, collapsing against a boulder. Jinwoo and Hyunwoo exchanged glances, then without discussion, fashioned a makeshift carrying harness from their backpack straps. "We'll carry you," Hyunwoo told Kimin. "No one gets left behind." The Kthrax explorer was once again struck by human resilience. "On my world," he observed as they secured him to the harness, "it would take 6 Kthrax to carry one injured comrade." They had nearly reached the summit when Kimin's scanner emitted an urgent alert. "Mach hunters, 3 approaching from South Ridge. Moving quickly." The group took cover behind a cluster of large boulders. Minji helped Kimin adjust his scanner to display the hunters' positions. "They're using some kind of jetpack system," Taeyong observed, spotting 3 dark figures leaping between rocky outcroppings with unnatural speed. "They'll be here in minutes." Jinwoo surveyed their surroundings, his experienced guide's eye assessing the terrain. "The rock formation above us. If we could trigger a slide, it might block their path." "Too dangerous," Junho objected. "We could cause a major collapse." "No choice," Yumbi said, already climbing toward the unstable rocks. "I can reach that supporting boulder. When I give the signal, everyone run north along the ridge." Before anyone could stop her, Yumbi was scaling the rocky face with remarkable agility. She reached a precariously balanced boulder and began working it loose. "Mach closing in," Kimin warned. 100 meters and approaching. "Now," Yumbi shouted, giving the boulder a final push. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The dislodged boulder triggered a cascade, sending tons of rock tumbling down the mountainside directly into the path of the advancing Mach hunters. The group ran along the ridge as the dust cloud rose behind them. Kimin, still secured in the carrying harness, watched in amazement as the humans navigated the treacherous terrain with natural skill. "Did it work?" Daesum called out as they reached a relatively flat area. Kimin checked his scanner. 2 Mach signals lost, 1 still active but stationary. "We injured them," Junho said grimly. "But there are still 3 more somewhere on this mountain." A new alert sounded from Kimin's scanner. "Kthrax vessel approaching. They've detected my biological signature." The humans looked up as a shadow passed overhead. A sleek silver craft, much larger than Kimin's scout ship, moved silently through the sky. It paused above them, hovering without any visible propulsion system. "Rescue team," Kimin confirmed, his compound eyes tracking the vessel's movements. A beam of blue light shot down from the craft, scanning the group. Moments later, a voice spoke through Kimin's translator. "Explorer Kimin, this is Commander Jason of the Kthrax Scientific Expedition. We detect Mach hunters in your vicinity and unauthorized Mach vessel in orbit. Are you in need of emergency extraction?" Kimin activated his communication function. "Commander, I require assistance. In company of Earth natives who provided aid and protection. Mach hunters pursuing." There was a brief pause before the response came. "Understood. Preparing extraction. Be advised, 3 Mach hunters converging on your position from east." Even as the warning came, movement caught Shunho's eye. 3 figures emerged from the tree line below, moving with inhuman speed up the rocky slope. "They're coming," he shouted. The Kthrax vessel descended rapidly, positioning itself between the humans and the approaching hunters. A section of the hull slid open, revealing an entrance ramp. "Board quickly," Commander Jason ordered. "We cannot maintain position long." The humans hesitated, looking to Kimin for guidance. "Trust them," he assured his human companions. "Thrax honor debt of life. You saved me. They will protect you." As the group rushed toward the vessel, the Mach hunters unleashed a barrage of energy weapons. The shots dissipated harmlessly against an invisible barrier surrounding the Kthrax craft. Once everyone was aboard, the entrance sealed shut. The interior was filled with a thin mist, atmosphere adjusted to Kthrax physiology. Minji and the others coughed as their lungs adjusted to the lower oxygen levels. Temporary discomfort only, assured a Cathrax crew member, providing breathing masks calibrated for human physiology. Commander Jason approached, his four limbs moving in a formal grading pattern. Unlike Kimmin, who had been weakened by Earth's conditions, the commander moved with easy grace in the ship's adapted gravity. Explorer Kimmin, your survival on a Class 12 Deathworld is unprecedented, he said, his words converted by an advanced translator. And you brought samples of the native intelligent species. Not samples, Commander, Kimmin corrected firmly. Allies, friends. They saved my life at risk to their own. They fought mock hunters to protect me. Jason's compound eyes studied the humans with scientific curiosity. Remarkable. Our sensors indicate their biology is adapted to conditions fatal to most known species, and they defended a Cathrax explorer against armed mock hunters without advanced technology. Humans possess natural strength, endurance, and problem-solving abilities that compensate for technological limitations. Kimmin explained, I propose immediate reclassification of Earth in our databases. On the main view screen, they could see the mock ship hastily departing Earth orbit as two additional Cathrax vessels approached. The mock ship is retreating, a crew member reported. They're abandoning their hunting party. Typical. Commander Jason noted with disdain. Shall we neutralize the remaining hunters? No, Kimmin said quickly. Capture if possible. Earth authorities should have opportunity to interrogate. This is their world. Jason's upper limbs moved in acknowledgement. As you wish, and these humans, what shall be done with them? Minji stepped forward, removing her breathing mask briefly. We represent Earth's scientific community. We propose peaceful contact between our species. Jason and the other Cathrax crew members seemed surprised by her directness. She speaks as equal, Jason observed to Kimmin. Not as primitive or subordinate. Because they are equals, Kimmin replied. Different, but equal. My time on this death world has taught me that our classification systems are incomplete. What we call deadly, they call home. What we see as harsh, they find beautiful. Commander Jason considered this, then made a decision. Explorer Kimmin will serve as first official ambassador to Earth. These humans will be returned safely, with appropriate protocols established for future contact. As the Cathrax vessel rose higher into Earth's atmosphere, Kimmin joined his human friends at the viewport. Together, they watched as the blue planet, simultaneously a death world and a cradle of remarkable life, grew smaller below them. Your home is beautiful, Kimmin told them, even if it nearly killed me. Perhaps that is what the galaxy has been missing. A species forged in conditions others find impossible, yet who still look at the stars with wonder instead of fear. Minji smiled. We have a saying on Earth, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Accurate, Kimmin agreed. And there is no stronger species in known space than those who call a Deathworld home.